minutes away, the situation is heating up as the officers are trying to send the signal it's time to go home. Omar Jimenez is in the middle of it on the street. Omar, the situation.
Yeah, Chris, right now, as you can see, they're trying to disperse this crowd outside the Brooklyn Center Police Department. These umbrellas have really been at the front line of this and represent sort of this group that's been here after the officials here have gotten on the loudspeaker and declared it an unlawful assembly. They've got some pepper spray out that they've been getting people off of the fence with, but they've also been firing these flashbang type projectiles into this crowd, trying to get them to disperse. The numbers are a lot smaller than they were earlier in the day, but of course, this is a third night in a row of demonstrations that we've seen here in Brooklyn Center, just miles from Minneapolis, where the trial of Derek Chauvin is happening. And these tensions have boiled over for a third night in a row. As you see now, officers putting more tear gas into this crowd. Also more projectiles, as people have been really coming in at this for all different directions. And I should mention, this comes in very large contrast to what we saw just hours ago as they marched from this police precinct to the FBI building and then back. But as you can see, the tensions and the emotions in this part of the country, in this Minneapolis area, are as high as maybe they have ever been. And there is something that the mayor of this town said, that this could not have happened at a worse time, and I think we're seeing some of those manifestations play out.
Omar, what indications are you getting that as the curfew draws to be just a few minutes from now, that people are taking that message to leave, or do you see that there's a consolidation of effort in the crowd?
It seems that there have been some that have left, but also with those that have left, more have come in and consolidated. And look, this is where the one set of crowd is, but I actually want to spin you around a little bit to show you that officers are now coming in from the opposite side of the street, and they're seeming to push at least some people. We can't tell by the silhouettes if those are officers or people, and so they are trying to funnel people out of this area one way or another. We saw some of these tactics during the protests in the aftermath of George Floyd's death back in May of 2020. And then here we are at the pace of the trial, and some of those same emotions, some of those same tactics from law enforcement are coming back into the fray. And this seems to be, as you hear on a loudspeaker, you may be able to hear that a little bit. They are walking through with the loudspeaker, telling people to disperse, saying that you'll be arrested if not, so we're going to move out of the way here as these officers come down the street. But when you talk about what we are seeing right now, this was not expected to be seen, at least prior to this, until the verdict time of the Derek Chauvin trial. And of course, here we are at least over a week before then. And so people here across the Minneapolis area are on the highest level of alert that they had prepared for, which previously they were not prepared to use until the verdict. And that Minnesota Operation Safety Net is the coalition of law enforcement agencies working on the security agency of this, and they are the ones trying to coordinate a response across this region, knowing that this is likely what we are going to see as these high emotions continue and as the trial of Derek Chauvin continues ahead of. And you see this right now. These officers are pushing these protesters out of the streets here. This was that line of law enforcement we saw coming from the distance. You saw how much they've advanced in just the past minute or so, from a block away to now, methodically coming over the loudspeaker, putting these crowd dispersal tactics into use. And where we were standing just a few moments ago is now almost clear of the street. People are firing fireworks off in the background, almost as if in response to the law enforcement tactics that are being used. The people here are angry, and you can see that, and they want to face law enforcement, and they are facing the music, so to speak, in the name of Dante Wright and so many others that have been killed at the hands of police, Chris.
Omar, the police that are coming up in the line that you're showing us right now, are those police? Are they sheriff? Are they National Guard?
It appears it's a combination of all of them. I'm going to walk over to the side, see if we can get you a better view here.
Because their tactics will be different, as you've learned.
Yes, I have. Of course, as you see the crowd running towards us right here, The primary people that have been coming over the loudspeakers have been the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. But those that have been standing in these lines here, we've seen a combination of National Guard, of State Patrol, and what appears to be local law enforcement as well. And so this line of officers, it's tough to tell in the silhouette, but what we can tell is that they do have those crowd dispersal techniques at the ready, and they've secured that block. Even though they're only silhouettes, you can see that that block is completely gone of any protesters now. It is filled almost shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement, backed up by those vehicles with their flashing lights, again, that move through that block methodically. And if you back up a little here, Lionel is my photographer, you see the line of vehicles of flashing lights here. So this isn't just 2 or 3 that walked into the intersection and moved people out at the last minute. They really brought in the cavalry minutes after the Hennepin County Sheriff's officials came on the loudspeaker and told people here, you have 10 minutes to get out of this block. Otherwise, we are going to disperse you. And we are seeing that happen firsthand here. You see the amount of law enforcement as they are walking through. We're just a little bit closer here off to the side as they push through the street, literally shoulder to shoulder and continuing to stream in, as you see on the back right of that crowd. And so whatever they saw over the past 2 nights, they have responded even more forcefully this 3rd night and trying to quell any emotions that are clearly very strong before it spills into a potential 4th.
And we've been seeing here with Omar Jimenez as the officers move down the block past the local police station to clear the street as people sit in submission to get arrested. The phalanx moves past them, and then officers behind are taking those people into custody. It is now time to turn over our coverage. It's another flashbang. They are supposed to do exactly what they did. They make noise and they send smoke. It's to disorient you when you're in their proximity. Let's hand over the coverage now to CNN Tonight and Don Lemon.
Christopher Cuomo, thank you very much, sir. We're going to get right to it. Breaking news happening now, Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. This is the 3rd night of unrest. We went through it with you last night live. You can see that police are on the scene. There are protesters as well. Flashbangs. Let's listen. Let's listen to what they're saying.
Obstructing legal process, which will be an additional crime. You need to disperse the area. Move to the north.
Police are on the scene telling the crowd to disperse. They need to leave the area. Our Miguel Marquez is live in the crowd. We're going to go to Miguel now and get the breaking news from him. Miguel, what are you hearing? What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to stay in this position, but this, I just want to give you a quick scene setter. This is the state patrol over here. They're coming up from the south side of the Brooklyn Center Police Department. You can see the crowd here that is trying to stay here, trying to show defiance in the name of Daunte Wright and challenging police, many of them with umbrellas.